Hey, shalom, shalom, Israel, Yeshala, and world, and brother Ezekiel.
Brother Chris.
And we're back at it on part 4 of the principles on teaching the word. We're basically for those who just tuning in now, if you're just now watching to this part, I basically went over the warnings and then got into the order how Christ or Yeshua was teaching, according to the Torah and everything, and showing the principles when we have all these instances and these examples of how Satan was the first one to show the example of tempting Christ, and Christ kept going back to the law. So even though Satan went back to the prophets, he X'd out the prophets by going according to the law, because the law is above the prophets. Okay? So with that, we're just showing these situations of how we're dealing with when you deal with the principles. Okay, so we're getting into Matthew 22, chapter 22, and verse 35 through 40, and we're gonna get that understanding, and then we'll jump into more temptations by men who try, making excuses or try to lie on Mashiach. Okay, but let's go there. Salakia, 1 second, y'all. Matthew 22 and verse 35 through 40. I'll get that real quick. Okay, go ahead, Ellie.
Matthew 22nd chapter, verse 35. Then one of them, which was a lawyer, asked him a question, tempting him and saying, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? Yeshua said unto him, Thou shalt love thy power with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind.
So let's see where Christ got that from. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse. Let's start at verse. Let's start at verse 3.
Deuteronomy the 6th chapter, starting at verse 3. Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that ye may increase mightily, as the Most High thy power of thy fathers hath promised thee, in the land that floweth with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, the Most High, our power is one.
Shema Yesha'Allah. This is the Most High saying we supposed to be one. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 5. And thou shalt love thy power, thy father with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might.
So right here is a law. And thou shalt love the Most High thy power with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. Christ is going back to the Torah now against flesh and blood, meaning the Pharisees, because he was tempted to see what he knows. Because remember, he didn't learn underneath them. So, which he didn't need to, because they were teaching lies anyway. Okay? So, he gave you one law right there. Let's see what else he said. Let's jump back to Matthew. And verse 38.
Verse 38, 22nd chapter of Matthew says, This is the first and great commandment. The second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
So let's see what another law Christ brought out. Let's jump to Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 17 through 18. Leviticus 19 and verse 18. Actually, you know what? Start at verse 17. Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Leviticus 19th chapter and verse 17.
Mm-hmm.
And it said, Then both...
No. Leviticus 19. You can do that.
My bad.
You good, Elder.
Sorry about that.
Oh,
Leviticus.
Yeah.
I'm still in Deuteronomy. Leviticus 19. Okay.
All right.
Sorry about that, world. Leviticus 19, the 17th chapter says, Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor, and not suffer sin upon him. Verse 18, Thou shalt not avenge nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. I am the Most High.
Here is the second law that Christ brought out. But see, you guys say commandments, and I notice this. The two greatest commandments. Once again, commandments are laws. Laws are commandments. Okay? So Christ pulled out two laws from the Torah. Okay? So he's telling you this is not from the 10 commandments. Okay? He's bringing out the law. And we don't separate it because it's all one anyways. But he's shown and proved the two greatest commandments is to love the Most High thy God with all thy heart, mind, body, and soul. And the second is, like unto the first, love thy neighbor as thyself, meaning your own people. Okay? So with that being said, we're showing and prove right here the principles. Again, this is how you're dealing when you're teaching with people. If you don't know the laws and the Torahs, you shouldn't have no business trying to teach anything, especially if you ain't applied it to yourself. Okay? So Christ is showing and prove here, since this is our master, okay, we're supposed to follow what he tells us to do. And he told us nothing but to keep the laws, to do it. That's the Father's will. Teach it on to your people and stuff. That's it. Okay? So we're showing and prove here one example. Let's get some more examples. But let's go back to Matthew and finish that up.
In Matthew 22nd chapter and verse 40 says, On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets.
Why he say all on these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets? Because the first commandment is, thou shalt have no other God before the Most High, for the heavenly Abba. So if you do what the Most High says, that means you believe him. You're going to believe everything he tells you what he needs to do through his prophets, through his son, and through his word, through the Ruach, the Holy Spirit. This is what you're going to do. That's showing that you love him. Then the second would say, if you love him, then you're going to do whatever he asks you. So obviously, you're going to teach your own people the same thing too, because you got love for them. You want them to receive the same love and blessings from the Most High himself. Okay? That's not having a selfish spirit on you. Okay? So just showing and prove this right here. That's what you need to do. Okay? So, and then you just don't learn those two and then forget everything else. No, you don't do that. Because now how do you know your errors if you're sinning if you don't know the rest of the Torah? Like it said back in Psalms 19 and verse 7 through 14. I forgot which verse, but it said, how can you understand any of your errors? Cleanse thou me from secret faults. That's what the Torah does. Okay? But anyways, let's get some more stuff here. Let's get some more examples. Let's jump to John chapter 4 and verse 6 through 19. Yeah, St. John chapter 4 and 6 through 19. And the reason why I'm going through these with the Pharisees and stuff, to show and prove men out here and women today who's trying to teach the words and stuff, this is pre-prepping you to turn away from bull crap and unrighteousness and stuff that warns you about doctrines that's man-made traditions and things. That warns you from all this stuff. And I'm showing you these examples through the Mashiach, how he did it too. You could do the same thing. Okay? But it takes time. You need to study. All right? But go ahead, Elder, when you're ready.
John, the 4th chapter, verse 6 says, Now Jacob's well was there. Yeshua, therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well, as it was about the 6th hour. There cometh the woman of Samaria to draw water. Yeshua said unto her, Give me to drink. For his disciples were gone away unto the city to buy meat. Then said the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, askest me of drink, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealing with the Samaritans. Yesiah answered and said unto her, If thou knewest the gift of the Most High, and who it is that saith unto thee, Give it me to drink, thou wouldst have asked me of him, and he would have given thee living water. The woman said unto him, Sir, thou hast nothing to draw with, and the well is deep. From which then hast thou that living water? Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? Yeshua answered and said to her, Whosoever drinketh of this water shall thirst again. Whatsoever drinketh of the water which I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into eternal life. The woman said unto him, Sir, give me of this water, that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. Yeshua said unto her, Go, call thy husband, and come hither. And the woman said, I have no husband. Yeshua said to her, Thou hast well said, I have no husband, for thou hast had 5 husbands, and he who thou hast is not thy husband, and that sayest thou truly. The woman said unto him, Sir, I perceive thou art a prophet.
Okay, the reason why I went through this whole thing, right, is because shown and proved here, this woman perceived as Christ as being a prophet. Now, there's only one way, according to us, knowing what a prophet is. So obviously, this woman had to know the law that deals with a prophet, because we know what the law, well, some of us know what the law says on what a prophet is. Let's see what the law is on a prophet. Let's go to Deuteronomy 18 and verse, I think we'll start at Salakia. I know it's 18 and 18, but I just want to start at the... Yep. We'll start at verse... let's start at verse 15 for there's a reason, because I got some Muslim individuals that watch this, and I know their deans use this to justify something in the Quran. But go ahead.
Deuteronomy, the 18th chapter, starting at verse 15. It says, The Most High, thy power will raise up unto thee a prophet from the midst of thee, of thy brother, like unto me. Unto him ye shall hearken, according to all that thou desirest of the Most High thy power in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, Let me not hear again the voice of the Most High, neither let me see this great fire any more, lest I die. And the Most High said unto me, They have well spoken that which they have spoken. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them, and all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass, that whosoever will not hearken unto my words which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name which I have not commanded him to speak, or shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die. And if thou shalt say in thine heart, How will we know the word which the Most High hath not spoken? When a prophet said in the name of the Most High, if a thing follow not, nor come to pass, that is the thing which the Most High hath not spoken. But if a prophet hath spoken this presumptuously, thou shalt not be afraid of him.
So, we went there for a reason, and this is Old Testament cast, because a lot of y'all say, Christ never used the Most High's name. If you read this, yes, he does. And he said it in the Most High's name when he told that Samaritan woman exactly what was going on about the living waters and stuff. He said it by his name. And then also she said, I perceive thee to be a prophet. So I use this as an example to get you guys to understand that how you know what a prophet is if you don't know the law. If you don't know what a Torah is. You guys will sit there and believe every word that any man or woman will say to you, and you'll follow them because you're being simple. And like the scripture says, the law, the Torah, will make the simple wise. And a lot of y'all don't want wisdom. You don't want it. You don't crave for it. It's something you don't look for. As a matter of fact, real quick, 1 Corinthians, so you guys get some understanding what I'm talking about. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, and we'll get right back on it. So I'm gonna hurry up and get this to you guys, because this
Chapter what? 1 Corinthians chapter 12.
Start at verse 4.
1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 4. It says, "Wherefore I give you to understand that no man speaking by the Spirit of the Most High calleth Yeshua accursed."
Let's try verse 4.
Chapter 12, verse 4.
12, verse 4.
Oh, 12 and 4. That was
Yes.
Shalak.
You guys.
Wow, okay. 1 Corinthians chapter 12 and verse 4. "Now there are diversities of gift, but the same Spirit. And there are differences of administrations, but the same power. Now, and there are diversities of operations, but it is the same power which worketh all in all. But the manifestation of the Spirit is given to every man to profit withal. For to one is given by the Spirit the word of wisdom.
The word of wisdom, that's one gift. Go ahead.
To another the word of knowledge.
The word of knowledge is another gift.
By the same Spirit.
By the same Spirit. These are gifts that the Ruach is given unto you if you seek her, like it tells you in Proverbs 8. But you guys aren't seeking wisdom. You're not seeking knowledge. You're not seeking these things. You're seeking only what that man or woman is going to tell you based off of your emotions and based off of what you deem is right. Okay? But continue real quick, Elder.
Verse 9. To another faith.
For another, there's faith. So, y'all dealing with a lot of fear out there. Talk about, oh, we're going to die to here, or we're going to all this stuff. You're dealing in fear. The Most High said He never created us with this, the spirit of fear. Okay? So, who are you really fearing? Aren't you supposed to fear the Most High and Him only? But you fearing the one that can hurt the flesh, but not the one who can hurt the spirit and the flesh. See, your priorities are mixed up. But go ahead, Elder.
Verse 9. By the same Spirit. To another gifts of healing by the same Spirit.
Oh, excuse me. Healing is another one. But what I was saying with the faith, a lot of y'all don't have faith. So these are gifts you have to be given on to.
Mm-hmm.
So you claiming, oh, I got faith in the Most High. Really? You got faith in the Most High, and here it is. You are afraid of everything about doing this and doing that and stuff, and you ain't called on Him and stuff? Come on, man. But go ahead, Elder.
Verse 10. To another the working of miracles. To another prophecy. To another concerning of spirits. To another diverse kinds of tongues. To another the interpretation of tongues.
So right here we have all these different gifts. They're all individual different gifts. Some may acquire all of them. Some may not need all of them because you already have them in things. But a lot of y'all are not seeking after this. And the rest of the scripture tells you you should covet after those things. That's the one thing that you should covet after is these gifts. But you guys don't do this. And this is the reason why a lot of y'all are just falling for anything that any man or woman says out there. Because they're your friend. Or somebody you know. Or somebody who tickles your ears and stuff. Okay? But whatever. I mean, this is how you guys roll. You don't know principles. Once again, I'm trying to warn you guys about this stuff. But hey, what do I know? You know, I just read. But anyways, that was it on on Matthew. Let's jump to, John. And we backed it up with the law, with the the law of a prophet. Let's jump to Luke 5 and verse 17 through 26 to get more examples of all these temptations that Christ was shooting down these liars who knew the Torah but was trying to twist it up because they were creating their own doctrines. Luke 5 and verse 17.
All right, the book of Luke, 5th chapter, and verse 17, and it says, And it came to pass on a certain day, as he was teaching, that there were Pharisees and doctors of the law sitting by, which were come out of every town of Galilee and Judea and Jerusalem. And the power of the Most High was present to heal them. And behold, men brought in a bed, and behold, men brought in a bed, a man which was taken with a palsy. And they sought means to bring him in and to lay him before him. And when they could not find by what way they might bring him in because of the multitude, they went up on the housetop and let him down through the tiling with his couch in the midst before Yeshua.
Now, mind you, right here, just show you how much they really believed in Christ as the Messiah, as being the Son of the Most High. They went around, grabbed something to tie it down to level this man all the way down like a little elevator to him because of the multitude of the people. This is how much faith they really believed in on who this man was. Okay? They done all this, and half of y'all, you have access right here to it, and you refuse it. These men had to create something to let this man down so he could be able to see Hamashiach. Okay? All the stuff was in their way, stopping them from seeing him. But they said, nah, we got the willpower. We finna go because we believe. I need this man healed. Okay? And mind you, it said in a couple verses that the Most High was in the midst. As it said, 2 or more gather in his name, he's there. Okay? But continue, Elder.
Verse 20, and when he saw their faith, he said unto him, Man, thy sins are forgiven thee.
Okay, now, they said, thy sins are forgiven thee. Okay, here comes my Old Testament buddies. Well, we're going to break this down for y'all. Let's see what else it says. Go ahead.
Verse 21, and the scribes and the Pharisees began to reason, saying, Who is this which speaketh blasphemies? Who can forgive sin but the Father alone? But when Yeshua perceived their thoughts, he answered and said unto them, What reason ye in your hearts? Whether it is easier to say, Thy sins be forgiven thee, or to say, Rise up and walk. But that ye may know that the Son of Man hath power upon earth to forgive sin, he said unto the sick of palsy, I say to thee, Arise, and take up thy couch and go into thine house. And immediately he rose up before them and took up that whereon he lay, and departed to his own house, glorifying the Most High.
No, glorifying Jesus Christ.
Glorifying the Most High.
No, the Son of Man.
Glorifying the Father.
The Son of God.
Ahaya.
The Lamb.
Glorifying the Father. Glorifying the Most High.
And when you read that in the Aramaic, it says Yah. Okay? So don't sit there and say they were glorifying Jesus Christ for what he did. He didn't do that. Okay? It was the Father. Mm-hmm. The man spoke the word saying, your sins are forgiven, you're healed and stuff because of your faith. It came all from the Father. And he spoke it into existence. Okay? So using his Son to show and prove his marvelous works and things. Alright, the glory goes back to the Father. But go ahead, Elder.
Verse 26. And they were all amazed, and they glorified the Most High.
No, you sure it says Jesus Christ?
They all were amazed, and they glorified the Most High also.
No, they worship Jesus Christ for doing the work.
Not at all.
Thank you. So I want to make sure, because my Old Testament cats, you on here watching this and stuff, I'm showing the proof here. Go ahead.
And were filled with fear, saying, We have seen strange things today.
Now, we have seen strange things today. Now, to y'all, y'all will sit here and say this. You will agree with the Pharisees. Who is this man that says he can forgive sins, right? Can't no man forgive no sins. Only the Most High can do that. So last time I checked, when did the Most High come in person and said you're forgiven of your sins? Because last time I checked, if you saw the Father, you're dead. So obviously he had to use somebody to do his will. Because he doesn't get off his throne, period. Okay? So let's back this up, because since you say a man cannot forgive another man of his sins, I'm showing proof to you, yes they could. Let's go. Give me 1 second here. I want, what was this, Luke? I want 1 Samuel 15 and verse 24 through 28 again. So I know I did this a couple lessons ago.
1 Samuel 15, what?
Chapter 15, verse 24 through 28. Now keep this in mind. It said, they said, what man can sit here and forgive another man of sins? Okay, Let's see. Let's show him proof. All right. So go ahead, Elder.
1 Samuel chapter 15 and verse 24 says, And Saul said unto Samuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the commandment of the Father, and thy words, because I feared the people and obeyed their voice. Now therefore I pray thee, pardon my sin.
Do what?
Pardon my sin.
I pray thee, Samuel,
Pardon my sin.
pardon my sins. When you look up that word, that's asking, forgive me of my sins. No, I think he said I think he said he asked God to pardon his sins.
Therefore I pray thee, Saul said to Samuel, I pray thee. Now we go back to verse 24. It says, And Saul said unto Samuel, I have sinned. I have transgressed the commandment of the Most High and thy words, because I feared the people and obeyed their voice. Now therefore I pray thee, Samuel, pardon my sin, and turn again with me that I may worship the Most High.
So wait a second, right? Finish out with verse 26.
And Samuel said unto Saul, I will not return with thee, for thou hast rejected the word of the Most High, and the Most High has rejected thee from being king over Israel. And as Samuel turned about to go away, he laid hold upon the skirt of his mantle and rent it. And Samuel said unto him, The Most High hath rent the kingdom of Israel from thee this day, and hath given it unto thy neighbor, the neighbor of thine that is better than thou.
So we just showed and proved here in Scripture that Saul asked Samuel to pardon him or forgive him of his sins. So what is these Pharisees talking about who have all the scrolls and things, talking about what can a man do to forgive? How can this man forgive somebody of their sins? Only God can do that. But we just showed and proved in the Scriptures in the Tanakh that the king of Israel, the first king of Israel, Saul, said, as Samuel praised him and asked him, please forgive me, pardon me of my sin. And Samuel said, no, the Most High will not forgive you of your sins. He said, no, I will not turn back with thee, for you have rejected the Most High's word. So I just showed and proved through the Scriptures that this man, Christ, Yeshua, can forgive a man of sins. Now, if you don't think that's good enough, we'll get into some more here. Let's go to the law, because I did the same. I did exactly what Christ said, because once again, you say a man cannot forgive another man of sins, right? Only the Most High can do that. But yet, last time I checked, the Most High didn't come in his own person, in his own spirit, and talk to that individual that sinned one-on-one and said, you are forgiven of your sins. He always used the mediator between all the people. And the last time I checked, the mediators were the priests, okay, in this sense, even though it's prophets and everything. But let's see what the law says about another man forgiving somebody their sins. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 4 and verse 22 through 26.
Verse 26.
Yeah. Verse 22 through 26.
22.
Yeah. Leviticus chapter 4, verse 22 through 26.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 4, and verse 22 says...
Now, real quick, what was Saul?
He was the king of Israel.
Okay.
At that time.
So now I'm giving you exactly what the Torah says when a ruler sins. Go ahead, Ellie.
Verse 22 in the 4th chapter of Leviticus says, When a ruler had sinned and done somewhat through ignorance against any of the commandments of the Most High concerning things which should not be done, and is guilty, or if his sin wherein he has sinned come to his knowledge, he shall bring his offering, a kid of the goats, a male without blemish. And he shall lay his hand upon the head of the goat and kill it in the place where they kill the burnt offering before the Most High, It is a sin offering. And the priest shall take of the blood of the sin offering with his finger, and put it upon the horns of the altar of the burnt offering, and shall pour out his blood at the bottom of the altar of burnt offering. And he shall burn all his fat upon the altar as the fat of the sacrifice of peace offerings, and the priest shall make an atonement for him as concerning his sin, and it shall be forgiven him.
The priest shall do what? And the priest shall make...
And the priest shall make an atonement for him as concerning his sin, and it shall be forgiven him.
Oh, wait a second. How? Ooh, I thought only God could forgive. I thought only God can atone for your sin. Why is the Most High using these men to tell you that your sin is forgiven because of X, Y, and Z you did? Why does he need the animals? Why does he need the priests? If the Most High could just forgive him himself. This is what I'm trying to show and prove to you in that order, to show the principles of when you're dealing with teaching the people, you need to go to the Torah, then through the prophets, and then through the gospel.
I got an example for you that you can show them about that atonement in the priesthood.
Go ahead.
Exodus 30.
Exodus chapter 30.
Yeah. 30. Chapter 32 to 30.
32 and 30.
Chapter 30 and verse 32 and...
Wait, what? You said 30?
Chapter 30.
Chapter 32, 30, I'm sorry.
Oh, chapter 32, verse 30.
Verse 30, okay. Exodus chapter 32 and verse 30 says, And it shall come to pass on the morrow that Moses said unto the people, Ye have sinned a great sin, and now I will go up unto the Most High. Peradventure, I shall make an atonement for your sin.
So, right there again. So, I thought you don't need... I thought Christ was just a man. You can't... What man could, atone or tell a man that he's forgiven of his sins? Huh?
There's no shame.
See? This is... And I'm trying to show you guys, this is what these men and these women out here doing, who has a big name out here and is trying to teach y'all what they think is the truth and stuff, and they're all off. They're not dealing with the principles and stuff, and they're leading all y'all astray to that stuff. And I'm not saying I got the full truth or anything like that, but I know exactly, according to the Torah and how Christ told us how to deal with the word and everything, according to that, that has to be the right way to do it. Okay? So I'm showing you all these examples. This is how, even if I was there with Hamashiach and everything, even though I wouldn't have to say nothing, but even to add on, I would have told them Pharisees to say, I would have told them the Torah says this. You're speaking against the priesthood and things like that, saying they can't make an atonement for another man's sin. How dare you even speak against this man? This is all for control, and this is what you guys have learned. Like the scriptures, ain't nothing new under the sun, and you're doing the same exact stuff over and over again. But let's get some more examples here. Let's go to Matthew chapter 12, and we'll start at verse 1 through 14. I said, Israel, I'm trying to show you guys these things so you can be warned of these wicked individuals out here. When did I say 12, man?
Matthew chapter 12, 1 through 14.
Okay.
The book of Matthew, chapter 12, and verse 1. At that time, Messiah went on the Sabbath day through the corn, and his disciples were an hungered, and began to pluck the ears of corn and to eat. And when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, Behold, thy disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath day.
Now, let's stop right there. Now, before even Christ even answered this, right? Let's show and prove what's allowed and lawful on the Shabbat. Okay? Let's hold that, and let's go to... Let's start at Leviticus 19 and verse 9 through 10. Let's get the law. Let's see what's lawful. Okay? Now, mind you, it says that they were just picking corn because they were in hunger when they were passing through a cornfield, right? Now, mind you, Oh, well, I'll say it in a second here. I'm making these points. What did I say? 19 and 9? Yeah.
Leviticus 19,
9 and 10.
verse 9 and verse 10.
Okay, go ahead.
Leviticus, the 19th chapter, and verse 9 says, And when you reap the harvest of your land, thou shalt not wholly reap the corners of thy field, neither shalt thou gather the gleanings of thy harvest. And thou shalt not glean thy vineyard, neither shalt thou gather every grape of thy vineyard, thou shalt leave them for the poor and strangers. I am the Most High your power.
So right here in the law, it says you should not glean everything of your crops and of your wine and your vineyards and stuff. Leave it for the poor. Guess what? Did Christ have a place to lie his own head at? No, he didn't. He didn't have his own home. So in a sense, he was poor. And anybody that was following him was poor in that sense. They when Christ said, hey, follow me, so we do this work, bam, they got up and followed. Everything they was relying on was from the Most High, the faith of the Most High, that they should receive everything that go if they go and teach the word. And sure enough, they did receive those things. Okay? So in a sense, they were poor. They weren't going back to their house and whatever the case may be. But it shows and proves that according to the law, if your people are walking through your field, there's a certain percentage of your field that people can come and eat and do what they want. Okay, but we're gonna see what else. We're gonna see what other law that we're proving a point here to this Pharisee that was trying to tempt Christ. Go to chapter 23 and verse 22 in Leviticus. Talk about the most. I mean, these Pharisees was hating Christ. I probably would have been a Pharisee on Christ's side with the scroll showing. According to the law, he didn't break anything. He actually kept it right here. See, it says X, Y, and Z. Okay, so who are you? Can you excuse us so we can have something to eat here? And then once again, what are you doing outside here watching us what we doing on the Shabbat? Why aren't you in your house? Or why aren't you minding your own business? Stop being a busybody. It ain't none of your business. But let's see what it says. Go ahead, Elder.
Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, and verse 22 says, And when you reap the harvest of your field, thou shalt not make clean riddance of the corners of thy field. When thou reapest, neither shalt thou gather any gleaning of thy harvest. Thou shalt leave them unto the poor and unto the stranger. I am the Most High your power.
Okay, so I'm pulling laws that's repeats here, but I want to show and prove because I like to overkill stuff with these wickedness of these individuals and making these accusations against the Mashiach. Okay, let's go to Deuteronomy 24 and verse 19 through 22. Deuteronomy 24 verse 19 through 22.
Deuteronomy, the 24th chapter and verse 19 says, When thou cuttest down thine harvest in thy field, and hast forgot to shear in the field, thou shalt not go again to fetch it. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow, that the Most High thy power may bless thee in all the work of thine hand.
Oh, that was it on it.
19 through 22.
Yeah.
That was verse 19. Verse 20 said, When thou beatest thine olive tree, thou shalt not go over the boughs again. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. When thou gatherest the grapes of thine vineyard, thou shalt not glean it afterward. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. And thou shalt remember that thou wast a bondsman in the land of Egypt. Therefore I command thee to this thing.
Now, the reason why I'm saying this again, when we read back there in 12 and verse 1 and 2 in Matthew, it says, At that time Yeshua went on the Sabbath day through the corn, and his disciples were in hunger, and began to pluck the ears of corn to eat. Did they have a sheaf in their hands to cut down the crops? No, they didn't. They plucked it with their own hands and stuff. And then 2, what law says thou shalt not pluck any corn or to grab something to eat in the cornfield on the Sabbath day. It does not say that. It says thou shalt not work on the Shabbat. Do any works on the Shabbat. Okay? It didn't say about individuals walking and grabbing something off somebody's cornfield. See, these are little points that nobody's making when it comes to dealing with the law. Or when they're teaching and things. Little stuff that you miss makes a whole big difference. But let's get one more there with backing up this whole thing. We'll go back to Matthew again. Go to Exodus 23 and verse 10 through 11. And they say Messianic individuals don't know the laws. Yeah, all right. This one do. What did I say? 23 and 10? Yeah. 10 through 11. All right.
Exodus, the 23rd chapter and verse 10 says, And 6 years thou shalt sow thy land, and shalt gather in the fruits thereof. But the 7th year thou shalt let it rest, and lie still, that the poor of thy people may eat, and what they leave, the beasts of the field shall eat. In the like manner thou shalt deal with the vineyard with thy olive yard.
So right here, just showing to prove again, this is another point I'm making. How do they not know, or how does that Pharisee know that that's the year of the Jubilee? That it's the year of the rest where anybody can come in to take as much as they want and animals to eat from and things like that. Why didn't they make that point? This is why Christ is going against them, because he knows the laws. That's the reason why they keep trying to tempt him. And he keeps going back to the laws on them. That's why they never said anything to him or try to really do anything they could, because he kept hitting them with the Torah. This is why I'm trying to show once again. I keep repeating myself about this. This is the order, the principles. So you guys could understand this and learn this, so it keeps you away from all this wickedness and all this he say, she said stuff and all these doctrines and everything. It keeps you away from all of that. And you can tell the lies as soon as they come through. Okay? But let's go back to Mashiach. All right, let's start at chapter 12. Start at verse 3. Okay. Yeah, we're back in chapter 12.
Matthew chapter 12 and verse 3. But he said unto them, Have you not read what David did when he was an hungered, and that they were with him? They that were with him, how he entered into the house of the Most High, and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priests.
Let's stop right there once. Now, the law concerning this. Let's jump to... 1 second, y'all. Oh, you know what? Salakia, I'm sorry. 1 second. Before we go there, let me go back to a prophet to back up about the food and things like that, and eating things and gathering and stuff on the Shabbat. Let's go back to let's go to Nehemiah 13 and verse 15 through 18. I gave the law. I'm gonna back it up now with a prophet now. Okay, that's my bad. I meant to bring that out, dealing with the whole gathering. Nehemiah 13 and verse 15 through 18.
The book of Nehemiah, the 13th chapter, and verse 15 says, In those days saw I in Judah some treading wine presses on the Sabbath, and bringing in sheaves, and lading asses, as also wine, grapes and figs, and all manner of burdens which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. And I testified against them in the day wherein they sold victuals. There dwelt men of Tyre also therein, which brought fish and all manner of ware, and sold on the Sabbath unto the children of Judah in Jerusalem. Then I contended with the nobles of Judah, and said unto them, What evil thing is this that ye do, and profane the Sabbath day? Did not your fathers thus, and did not our power bring all this evil upon us and upon the city? Yet ye bring more wrath upon Israel by profaning the Sabbath.
So how did the disciples profane the Sabbath? By collecting, by just plucking some corn off the crops and just eating it right there on the spot. How was they profaning it? They didn't gather it. They didn't have sheaves. They didn't have oxen and ass to carry bundles of it. So what work did they do? They didn't do any. So what is this Pharisee talking about? It is unlawful to do, to be doing this on the Shabbat. You don't know what he's talking about. Just like some of your majority of your elders and your teachers and stuff don't know what they're talking about, creating more doctrines and more confusion. But once again, you guys won't notice because you don't read the Torah, you don't apply it to yourself, and you can't apply it to the Mashiach. You can't do it because you don't know. It's impossible. And don't give me that scripture about, well, anything's possible with the Most High. Yeah, obviously it's possible when he gave you the possibility to read this and have the possibility to understand. But you don't want to read it. The door is wide open. You don't want to go through it. So once again, I just showed and proved through the Torah, through the laws, and through a prophet to show that they didn't do no wickedness on the Shabbat. They didn't profane it. All they did was pick a corn and they were hungry. They ate it. They didn't build a fire. They didn't cook it. They just plucked it and started eating it. So, anyways, just wanted to show and prove that. All right, let's go back. Yeah, the showbread, which was 1 second. Let me get to the. No, I want to go to. Wait, let's go. Matthew 12. How? Okay, but he said unto them, Have ye not read what David did when he was in hunger, and they that were with him, how he entered into the house of Ahiah and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them that were with him, but only for the priest. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's get the law on this. Let's go to
Leviticus 22:10.
Wait. Before we go there, let's go to Samuel. Let's go where David did this. Okay, so 1 Samuel 21, verse 1 through 6, because I'm going to prove the points that Christ was making here with this Pharisee. Okay, so 1 Samuel 21 and verse 1 through 6. I got you, Luis. We'll bring that out in 1 second.
1 Samuel, 21st chapter, and verse 1. Says, Then came David to Nob, to Abimelech the priest, and Abimelech was afraid at the meeting of David, and said unto him, Why art thou alone, and no man with thee? And David said unto Abimelech the priest, The king hath commanded me a business, and hath said unto me, Let no man know anything of the business whereabout I send thee, and what I have commanded thee, and I have appointed my servants to such and such a place. And now, therefore, what is under thine hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in mine hand, or what there is present. And the priest answered David and said, There is no common bread under mine hand, but there is hollowed bread. If the young men have kept themselves at least from women. And David answered the priest and said to him, Of a truth, women have been kept from us about these 3 days. since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are holy, and the bread is in a manner common, yea, though it was sanctified this day in the vessel. So the priest gave him hollow bread, and there was no bread there but the showbread that was taken from before the Most High to put hot bread in the day when it was taken away.
Now, according to the law, you cannot give the showbread. But, there is a but. Okay? We just read the second greatest commandment is love thy brother as thyself. Okay? So, let's see these laws on what was permissible to do according with the showbread. Let's go to the law. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 15 and verse 16 through 18. See, you're not going to get these type of side notes in here. They're not in there. This is something that you have to find out that the Most High really has to show you, because you have to link the puzzle together, okay? Not trying to boast here. I'm just trying to show and prove. If you but seek him, he'll show you these things. What did I say? 15?
15.
And verse 16 through 18. Okay.
Leviticus, the 15th chapter, and verse 16 says.
Now, before you start, remember the priest said, has any of y'all dealt with any women, right?
Just a woman.
Okay. So let's see why he said that. Go ahead.
Leviticus 15, verse 16. If any man's seed of copulation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water and be unclean until the even. And every garment and every skin whereon is the seed of copulation shall be washed with water and be unclean until the even. The woman also with whom the man shall lie with seed of copulation, they shall both bathe themselves in water and be unclean until the even.
So, that's the law that the priest is bringing out. Have any of y'all been unclean with a woman and stuff? Okay? You can't eat none of this. You can't come in here unless you clean. So, obviously, they said no, 3 days. He didn't lie. He told the truth. And nobody has dealt with any women and stuff. So, they were clean. That's why he got to eat the hollow thing. Okay? Nothing unclean or uncircumcised shall have anything that is of the feast of the Most High, which is hallowed and is sanctified. Nobody that's unclean or uncircumcised shall eat of those things, which goes back all the way to the Passover and all the other feast days and things. Okay? So this is the chain. This is how you need to know these things. Okay? Practice makes perfect. So this man knows his stuff, and I'm gonna get into all that in the next part of this. Should be the final. But anyways, now let's see what else in order that this priest did. Go to Leviticus 22 and start at verse 1 through 16.
Leviticus 22. Leviticus, the 22nd chapter, and verse 1 says, And the Most High spake unto Moshe, saying, Speak unto Aaron and to his sons, that they separate themselves from the holy things of the children of Israel, and that they profane not my holy name.
Stop right there. Separate themselves from the holy things of the children of Israel. It's talking about the tithes. The tribes are having these things being holy. So they had to separate themselves. So the only individuals that actually made it holy was the 12 tribes before they brought the tithe in to the priesthood. So keep that in mind. That's the holy thing right now, okay? Go ahead, Elder.
That they profane not my holy name in those things which they hallow upon me, unto me, I am the Most High.
Which they that hallow, not the priest, it's the other tribes which hallow unto the Most High. So these are hallowed things. Watch what it says. Go ahead.
Say unto them, whosoever be of all your seed among your generation, that goeth unto the holy things which the children of Israel hallow unto the Most High, having his uncleanness upon him, that so shall be cut off from my presence. I am the Most High.
So backing this up, even the priest that's unclean, they can't eat nor touch this stuff until they become clean. Okay? Go ahead, Elder.
What man soever of the seed of Aaron is a leper or hath a running issue, he shall not eat of the holy things until he be clean. And whoso touches anything that is unclean by the dead, or a man whose seed goeth from him, or whoever touches any creeping thing whereby he may be made unclean, or a man of whom he may take uncleanness, whatsoever uncleanness he hath, that soul which hath touched any such shall be unclean until even, and shall not eat of the holy things unless he wash his flesh with water.
So, just showing and prove again, even the showbread, they can't eat none of that stuff unless they're clean. Okay, this is backing us up 100%. But go ahead, Elder.
Verse 7. And when the sun is down, he shall be clean, and shall afterward eat of the holy things, because it is his food.
Because it is his food. So it's the priest's food. It's his own stuff. So if it's his, and it says love thy neighbor as thyself, and if your brother is hungry, wouldn't you want to share something to your brother and not let him go starving?
I got a question.
Hold on. But go ahead, El.
That which dieth of itself or is torn with beasts, he shall not eat to defile himself thereof. I am the Most High. They should therefore keep mine ordinance, lest they bear sin for it, and die. Therefore, if they profane it, I, the Most High, do sanctify them. There shall no stranger eat of the holy thing. A sojourner of the priest or an hired servant shall not eat of the holy things.
Now, it says they should not eat it, and people close the book on it, see? But they're strangers. David and them were strangers because why? They're of the other tribes. When you look up this word, this actually means it means Israelites in that context for that word stranger. There's 3 different translations of the word stranger. One is for Gentile, one is for other tribes, and I forgot the other one what it would stand for, but I'll look it up later. I forgot what it meant. But anyways, go ahead.
Verse 11. But if the priest buy any soul with his money, he shall eat of it. And he that is born in his house, they shall eat of his meat.
So they show and improve. If a Levite actually hires a servant onto them, they can eat, or somebody's born underneath the Levite's house, whether it's another tribe, they can eat of those things. What of the priest? It's letting you know this right here, right off the bat. Okay, but go ahead.
Verse 12. If the priest's daughter also be married unto a stranger, she may eat of an offering of the holy things. But if the priest's daughter be a widow or divorced, and have no child, and is returned unto her father's house, as in her youth, she shall eat of the father's meat. But there shall no stranger eat thereof. And if a man eat of the holy thing unwittingly, then he shall put the 5th part thereof into it, and shall give it unto the priest with the holy thing.
So saying basically, if they didn't know any better and they accidentally ate it, then they gotta, give a little bit more back to the priest for doing so. But go ahead.
And they shall not profane the holy things of the children of Israel, which they offer unto the Most High, or suffer them to bear the iniquity of trespass when they eat their holy things. For I, the Most High, do sanctify them.
Okay. So now we got that law to show and prove that you could share that on. But let's go to just hold that for a second, Luis. What was that?
Leviticus 22, 1 through 16.
Let's jump to Deuteronomy 15 and verse 7 through 11.
Deuteronomy, the 15th chapter, and verse 7 says, If there be among you a poor man of one of thy brethren within any of thy gates and thy land which the Most High thy power giveth thee, thou shalt not harden thy heart, nor shut thine hand from thy poor brother, but thou shalt open thine hand wide unto him, and shalt surely lend him sufficient for his need, and that which he wanteth. Beware that there be not a thought in thy wicked heart, saying, the 7th year, the year of release, is at hand, and thy eye be evil against thy poor brother, and thou givest him not, and he cry unto the Most High against thee, and it shall be sin unto thee. Thou shalt surely give him, and thine heart shall not be grieved when thou givest unto him, because that for this thing the Most High thy power shall bless thee in all thy works, and in all thou puttest thy hands unto. For the poor shall never cease out of the land. Therefore I command thee, saying, thou shalt open thine hand wide unto thy brother, to thy poor, and to thy needy in thy land.
Thou shalt open thy hand wide unto thy brother, unto thy poor, and unto the needy. David was what? In need of something to eat. And his brethren and his servants, they were in need of something to eat. So guess what? That priest did according to the Torah. He gave unto, and guess what? Guaranteed that priest was blessed with even more things for what he did. So he didn't break the law. That's the reason why Christ was bringing this out towards the other Pharisee when he asked this question. Let's jump back to Matthew and we'll end this on this last part. So just showing and prove why he said how he entered into the house of Ahiah and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priest. But just showing and prove he was actually showing a trick question to the Pharisee, because the Pharisee obviously didn't know all these different laws that show and prove out of loveness and kindness for your brother, you want to let him go without. But go ahead, Elder. Verse 5.
Matthew chapter 12 and verse 5 says, or have ye not read in the law how that on the Sabbath days the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath, and are blameless? But I say unto you, that in this place is one greater than the temple. But if ye had known what this meaneth, I will have mercy, and not sacrifice, you would not have condemned the guiltless. For the Son of Man is king even on the Sabbath day.
So he say you would not have condemned the guiltless. So they weren't guilty of anything. That's what Christ was trying to show and prove, but he didn't know, obviously, the full Torah. They're just playing authority, just like what you guys are doing today. You don't even know the full Torah and stuff, but you're playing because the people put you on the pedestal, and they're the ones that's giving you power to have some type of authority over the people. But go ahead, Elder.
Verse 9. And when he was departed thence, he went into their synagogue. And behold, there was a man which had his hand withered. And they asked him, saying, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath days? When they might accuse him, that they might accuse him. And he said unto them, what man shall there be among you that shall have one sheep, and if it fall into a pit on the Sabbath day, will he not lay hold on it and lift it up? Verse 12. How much then is a man better than a sheep? Wherefore is it unlawful to do well on the Sabbath days? Then said he to the man, stretch forth thine hand. And he stretched forth it, and it was restored whole, like as the other. Then the Pharisees went out and held a council against him, how they might destroy him.
So they planned how to destroy him because he was speaking the truth. They can't battle against that. They couldn't debate him on that, because now you're dealing with a whole individuals that know probably the Torah, the full thing. These Pharisees and still being wicked, they couldn't contend against him because he was speaking the truth. Again, showing and prove that if you use the Torah, it will kill out all these man-made doctrines and these philosophies and stuff. That's all you need to do. But you guys reject it, and this is why you fall into damnation with the rest of these individuals, because you think it feels good. You know? I mean, sex feels good. You know what I'm saying? But was it right? Am I doing it correctly? Am I doing it according to the Most High? Did I marry a woman and have witnesses and things and everybody knows this and all this and that and the other? Did I do those things? Did you guys do those things? So how do you know what is right and what's wrong if you don't know the Torah? You can't understand your errors. But you feel good and you feel like I'm being blessed and nobody can tell me nothing. Thus saith my elder, my deacon, bishop, and pastors, and whatever else you guys come up with. But anyway, we're going to end it right here. We'll come back to, let's see, that was Matthew 12, 1 through 14.
Mm-hmm.
We'll pick up, in Matthew 19 and verse 3 through 9 on the next lesson, y'all. So, anywho, you got anything you want to say, Elder?
Brother Luis has something.
He said a question.
Okay, no, I'm okay.
You got anything to say? All right. Well, anywho, I'm Brother Ezekiel.
Brother Chris.
And we'll holler back at y'all. Shalom.
Shalom.